Well, hello, everyone. It is great to be with you on Inspirations for Your Life. Today, it is May 1st. Happy May to everyone. Looks like summer is just about here. Well, almost here. All right, guys. So it's great to be with you. First of all, I want to let you know that if this is your very first time here, I want to say thank you and I want to say welcome. If you have been here one time or many times, I want to say thank you. And of course, I want to say welcome back. If you're thirsty, if you're hungry, I just finished having a little bit of lunch. I had some RO water here with some, a hint of cranberry and some ice. I do that. Sometimes I do seltzer. But anyway, if you're thirsty, if you're hungry, feel free to go grab that and come on back to the show so we can kick this off. All right, everyone. It is so great to be with everyone. And this is the day we are wrapping up the master topic. What is that? Well, we'll get to that in just a moment, okay? Don't forget to check out, believemeachieve.com for more of my amazing, of course, inspiring creations. So this is, Inspirations for Your Life, and I'm John C. Morley. I'm a serial entrepreneur, engineer, marketing specialist, video producer, podcast host, coach, and graduate student, passionate lifelong learner, and now I'm a published author, and I'm very grateful for that. And this week, we were talking all about diving into, what happens when truth gets revealed and everything changes. Because once you see clearly, you can't go back. You can't unlearn. You can't unknow what you didn't know. Direction shifts identity. It evolves, and the life you're meant to live starts demanding your attention. Today, as we finalize out the show here, today is about what happens when you fully step into your direction. Now, direction becomes your identity. The moment you choose your path, it starts defining who you are. Identity becomes who you believe you are, determines what you actually do. And so action becomes habit. Repeat effort turns intention into automatic behavior. Now, habit becomes a lifestyle. What you do daily becomes how you live completely. And I think that's an important thing for us to understand. Lifestyle becomes character, and your patterns shape the person you're known to be. Yeah, that's a very important thing, guys. And I think a lot of people, they miss that whole concept. They miss what this means or why this is going on. I think that's a very important thing. But what I want to tell you is that these are really important things that you have the power to change. You have the power to basically change your whole outcome. Now, this does not happen overnight. Okay. And so sometimes people get frustrated because they haven't gotten to the promised land yet. They haven't gotten their victory, right? I had somebody the other day I was talking to, and I said, look, I'm going to be honest with you. The reason why this isn't moving forward, the reason why you're not getting the job or whatever, it's because you are sabotaging yourself. You're putting on a false front. You're not happy, and you can't fake being happy. If you fake being happy, people are going to know it. Nobody wants to hire somebody who's not happy. So your character becomes your destiny, guys. Who you are consistently decides where you end up. So your attitude, if you will, determines your altitude. Yeah. Your attitude determines your altitude. Okay. And I think that's an important thing for all of us to understand. And I will say understanding is something that a lot of people, they don't get what that is or why that is a certain way. But it's something we need to become aware of. And the more aware that we become of these things, well, the more that we can actually do stuff. Okay. The more that we can get to where we want to be. I think that's probably one of the most important things that I can say to you. All right. So commitment. Commitment locks the change. Real transformation begins when quitting is no longer an option anymore. Like, you're not going to say, well, if this doesn't work, I'm going to fall back and quit. You see, you have to stop thinking like that. When you think like that, that is the problem. And it's like you're waiting for yourself to fail. And what if you waited for yourself to succeed? Your energy will go that way. Wherever our thoughts go, right? That's where the energy is going to flow. So consistently know this, and consistently seals growth. Small actions repeated daily create unstoppable results. Unstoppable. Okay? Not results that are going to be one time, not results that are going to be just for the day or just the hour. They are going to change quite a bit. That's an important thing to note, guys. Okay? Very important to know that. And I will tell you that it's important to understand. Okay? It's important to understand what this is and why this is. And I say that to you because this can make a huge, huge difference, right? A difference in what you want, a difference what you're looking for. I think those are important things to know, right? It's about understanding. It's about knowing where you come from, okay? I think that's an important thing for us to realize for a moment, to know that this is something that we can do, to know that there is so much potential out there. Okay. I think that's an important thing to understand. And once we understand that, then we can change who we are and what we're about and what we're going toward. I think that's a very, very important thing. So discipline, folks, stabilizes progress, and structure will keep you moving when the emotions fluctuate, because our emotions are going to go up, they're going to go down. But when we have a structure, we keep going back to old reliable. All right. Focus eliminates drift. That's why I always tell you to focus. Clarity cuts the distractions and locks in the direction we want to head in. When we do that enough times, it becomes automatic that it just happens. Now, systems maintain success. What you build sustains you longer than motivation ever will. That's why it's important to build slow and build solid. Structure prevents relapse. A solid framework keeps you from slipping into old habits. Execution builds results. Ideas only matter, guys, when they're put in motion. So I think that's a very, very important thing for us to know. And maybe you can understand, what this means. But I can tell you something, guys. This means that you have the potential, okay? You have the potential, but maybe you're just scared, right? Maybe you're just scared because you don't necessarily know, why things are going a certain way. And what I want to tell you is that you can do this. You can do this. You absolutely can do this. It makes sense if you can believe into it. That's important to know. Very, very important to know. And when you understand that, it's important to realize where you can go. All right. And that could change your life. that little thing can change your life so much. Okay. Not because it has the power to do it. I'll tell you why. It's because of the belief you have in it that it will have a difference. Okay. And that can make a very, very big difference. And that can shift where you're going or where you're not going. I think that's important to know. And I think a lot of people that realize that will really appreciate it. And I think if you can think about things, life can change. But again, it doesn't happen overnight. So, ladies and gentlemen, results reinforce belief and proof strengthens your confidence in what is possible. What is possible? What is possible? And I know you're probably saying, this is crazy. But it's important. You can do this. And it can make a difference to who you are and maybe what you're doing. Maybe. But it's something I believe that will help a lot of people. Okay. It's something I believe that will change who you are. It will change who you are literally overnight. Now, the new world may not show up yet, so don't get disillusioned because it hasn't shown up. Don't get disillusioned doing that. Because, you see, where you got to didn't happen overnight. So to change that, it's like if somebody wants to lose weight, they don't lose weight overnight, right? They have to go through the process. A process. Now, belief strengthens your identity, and what you trust internally reshapes who you become. Who you become starts to radiate out to other people, and that lets them want to be with you. Now, identity drives the future. Your future, your self-image determines the life you allow yourself to create. This is the key, guys. You create your self-image. It determines where you're going, but you have to allow yourself to create it. Most people say, oh, you know what? I'm never going to go anywhere. I'm never going to get a job. I'm just going to be here. I'm just going to do here and just leave. Like, they get all upset and they don't really believe that this is possible. So growth becomes permanent. Transformation sticks when it becomes part of you. Now, old self fades. The past version of you loses power when it no longer is being fed. I think that's an important one that a lot of people will miss. That's being fed, right? And so when you think about that, I think you can understand a lot of things, all right? But again, I want to tell you that this stuff does not happen overnight. But so many people I know, I talk like, oh, John, I want it to happen tomorrow. Well, and then it doesn't happen, and they're like all annoyed because basically it didn't happen. And that could be a problem for people. That can literally sabotage them. So the new self leads the stronger version of you will take control through not just one choice, but daily choices you make every single day. And so those choices can actually move you forward or they can move you backward, right? They can also keep you in place. They can keep you stagnant, which is definitely not a good thing. So I know a lot of you are saying to me, hey, John, I've been trying this, but it's not working for me. And the reason it's not working for you is because you are giving up before you've even tried, okay? Standards rise What you accept improves as you evolve through life. Expectations shift, and you begin to demand more from yourself and your life when those expectations shift. Now, behavior stabilizes. Discipline patterns create reliable performance. Discipline creates performance. Structure. Results become predictable. Success follows when your actions are aligned and consistent. Let me say that again. Success only follows when your actions are aligned and they are consistent. That means you don't just do them for one day. You do them every single day in your life. And I think that's something that a lot of people, they wrestle with that concept, right? They wrestle with the concept because they don't really know what's possible. And I think that's something that a lot of people will keep trying to figure out. Now, chaos, it disappears. Clarity replaces confusion when the direction is firm. But a lot of people can't figure out whether they want to sit down or stand up, right? They can't figure it out. They can't figure it out. And so that's important to understand. It's very, very important to understand. And with that being that way, I think a lot of people will say, I don't quite get it. I don't quite get it because suddenly where I want to be and where I am are two different places. You can still get there, right? But it's going to take some work. It's going to take some time. Now, does it have to take a lot of time? No. Time is precedent based on the action you put in, the amount of action, right? If you need a lot of time to do that action, then it's going to take a lot of time. If you decide it's not going to take a lot of time and you do it right now, it's going to happen quickly. So control increases. Intentional living gives you command over your outcomes. That's it. Command gives you the authority over them, but you still have to act. Direction locks it in, guys. Once it's aligned, your path stops wavering. You can decide to lock it in today, and you can start being on that success trajectory. But if you don't lock it in, you'll be like, oh, I don't know, maybe I'll start tomorrow. Maybe I'll start next week. Maybe next year. And then the day keeps moving and moving and moving, and you never really start. Purpose becomes clear, folks. Meaning reveals itself through committed action. When you're committed, things start to slowly turn up. Momentum stabilizes and progress compounds when you stop starting over. So people say, oh, you know what? It's not right. I got to do it over. No, you might just have to change them. You don't have to start completely over. You do not need to start completely over. There's no need to start completely over. But a lot of people think, oh, I got to start completely over. No. Life becomes intentional. Every move is guided by purpose, not an impulse. Most people in life, less than 5% of people in life live an intentional life. That doesn't mean they don't live a good life, but if they live an intentional life, then guess what? They can do almost anything they want to do. Now, you become what you build, okay? What you have built for yourself. Your daily efforts shape the person you ultimately are. And this week is about more. It's not just an inspiration. It's about a truth. It's about an understanding. It's about a purpose, an intention, a movement, a clarity, oh yes, and a renewal. So read your life closely and choose the version of yourself that rises. I think a lot of people get scared about rising. You know why? Because they don't necessarily know what's going to happen or why it's going to be that way. And I think that happens to a lot of people because, again, they are stuck in the middle. They don't know why something's going to go a certain way. They just don't know. And I'm here to tell you that you can make these changes in your life if you really are intentional with your life. But a lot of people will not become intentional. Not because they can't. It's because, well, they're lazy, right? It's because they're comfortable where they are right now in their life. And they're afraid that if we, well, go a different way, we might get uncomfortable. And that scares some people. That scares some people, right? And if that scares you, then you never can move forward. You never can move up the ladder. So moving up the ladder is not hard, but it is lonely. It's lonely. So you have to understand that you've got to be your best cheerleader. When you know that you're your best cheerleader, that's when miracles start to happen. You know, a lot of them say to me, John, I'm waiting for my friend to support me. Don't wait for your friend to support you. Support yourself. I'm not being nasty. I'm being a realist, right? If I would have waited for people to support me to write the book would have never gotten written. You need to be your own cheerleader, okay? You need to be your own supporter. But I get that a lot of people are not that because of one thing. You know what it is? They're scared. They're worried about being uncomfortable, or should I say not just being uncomfortable, but they're worrying about feeling uncomfortable. And I think that's hard for a lot of people to understand that, it's not just something that happens, once. Being uncomfortable is going to happen over and over again. And if you can understand that you've got to learn how to adapt to your surroundings, right? Learn how to adapt. And when you can learn how to adapt, the world, ladies and gentlemen, becomes your oyster. Your world becomes your oyster. Does that make sense? And if you know that, then maybe there's things you can do in your life, right? Maybe there's things you can do in your life, and maybe you'll understand this one thing. What is that one thing? That one thing is that you can make a difference. You can make a difference. You can make that difference. You can make the difference. But people are scared to make the difference. Not because they can't, but because they're scared. Because they're scared. They're scared. And that one thing that you do will maybe change your trajectory for your entire life, not just for one day. Not just for one day, but for your entire life. And I know a lot of you are saying to me, John, you don't know what I've gone through. No, I don't. But we've all been through some stuff. Okay, we've all been through it. And if we've all been through it, then we know what's going on. We know what's happening in our life, right? We know about it. Why? Because we're in life. And life is not always easy. But I find that when we have learned to overcome or to, let's say, compensate for the challenges in our life, life gets better. Life gets better. And then, as I said, it doesn't happen overnight, but it happens over time. And as this happens over time, people are like, wow, why didn't I do that before? That was not as hard as I thought it was going to be. It's not as hard as I thought it was going to be. So this is important, guys. Very important. Turn every empty space into growth and build a life that reflects intention. intention, strength, and purpose. The question I want to ask you right now, are you living a life of intention? Or are you just going through the motions of it? Do you find that your days are just kind of sifting by? Do you think the reason for that is because you just are tired? No, it's because you're not living a life on purpose. And living a life on purpose is not hard, but it does take a little bit of work if you've never done it before. A little work. Not a lot of work, but a little work. And that little work can really make a big difference for you and for so many people out there. All right. But I want to tell you something. If you're still going to be on the fence saying, oh, I don't know if I'm going to try that, or this isn't going to be comfortable, then it's not going to be comfortable. Okay. You've got to embrace it. Okay. It's not going to be comfortable. Might be not be the most pleasant thing for me, but I'm going to get through it and I'm going to do it. Why? Because I want to live a great life. I want to live an amazing life where I can be my ultimate creator. Again, you can do it. Don't let others, sidetrack you. Ladies and gentlemen, you can catch the full week of these episodes here at believemeachieve.com, as well as check out my book, Where Clarity Meets Action and Momentum Becomes Your New Normal. If you're looking at what the Joneses are doing, what everybody else is doing, it's like, oh, well, they're not doing it. Just because they're uncomfortable doing something doesn't mean that you can't do it. So yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. Yes, it's not going to be pleasant. It's going to be painful. No, it's going to be uncomfortable. Like I said, writing with the wrong foot, that can be a big, big problem, right? If you write with the wrong foot, how do you deal with that? I think that's a very important thing to note. Okay, a very, very important thing to note. So I want to really understand that. Do you know what I mean? I think the reason it's hard is because some people they get scared. Have yourself a great one, everyone, and I'll catch you real soon. Be well, everyone.